right now in Overwatch 2, and since 2019, we have not had role Q, we have had role lock. And they are different. I would play Overwatch 1 open queue right now over this shit. Actually, I'll say it. Yeah, I would. I would take open queue Overwatch 1 over role lock 5v5 right now. Would Blizzard have gone to 2-2-2 if GOATS wasn't as bad as it was for as long and they had nerfed Brig properly? I was playing in Contender. A cat chose the bans for the week. A cat. Boys, I have got something special for you all today. Listen, not only am I Gojo right now, okay? Which is awesome. Manta Sleep is sponsoring today's video. And if I had this thing 3 years ago, even now, like, but especially 3 years ago when I was living in Cincinnati and the Reds billboard was shining into my apartment every day and I could never sleep throughout all the hours of the night because it was just a giant bright light, this would have changed my life. Not only is it blocking out all light coming in, but I actually have Bluetooth headphones. I got the sound one that come right here into my ears, and I can listen to my audiobooks. Though, to be honest, I listen to Comic Story at night when I go to sleep to listen to like different comics and stuff like that. But if this sounds like you and you struggle to sleep and you got lights shining in your eyes and you like listening to audiobooks when you go to sleep, I try to sleep with my AirPods in every day, but they fall out in my sleep and then I lose them. It's a pain. This does all of this for you, and it's freaking awesome. It looks super, super cool. It's comfortable to sleep in. Guys, I cannot tell you, like, if you struggle to sleep, you gotta try this. Like, it helped for me a ton. And also, it goes a long way to help the channel. Like, this is how we pay for our channel managers and our editors and our thumbnail makers and stuff. This is just directly supporting the channel. It's going to help you all as well. You guys know how I feel about brand deals. I don't take them unless I think they can help you. And I saw this brand and I was like, okay, like, this is something that probably is going to help a lot of people because I struggle with sleep all the time. So help out the channel, help out yourself. There's a ton of different versions you can get. There's like 4 different types. I have the one with the sound in. I'd recommend that because, like, I like to listen to stuff when I go to sleep. Big shout out for Manta Sleep for sponsoring today's video. Domain expansion, baby. This is awesome. Oh, I don't know if I'm not a cuss. But editor, can you block that out? Either way, this is awesome. You should definitely check this out, guys. Thank you for sponsoring today's video, Manta Sleep, and I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy the video. Let's go. Booyah, baby. Oh my God, I want to go to sleep right now. I look like I'm a soccer mom.
Welcome back to another video. I apologize for the delay, my friends, as I've had a lot of personal stuff going on in my life, but nobody cares, so let's move on. I'm making this because after playing in the closed alpha, closed beta, and Gamescom private test for Marvel Rivals, it reminded me of one of the many things that made Overwatch 1 so incredible back in the day. Thanks again to all my 6v6 warriors once again for all the support you guys have been giving me in my recent videos, and shout out to my goat, Fernando. Before we get started, I want to remind you guys that I'm still offering coaching for Overwatch and Marvel Rivals when this game drops. Click the link in the description, it'll take you to my Metafy page, and book with me, and we'll be in touch. Remember to comment any future video requests or ideas, and if you don't like the video, you can also cry about it there. Now let's get fucking started, boys.
Good.
I'm sure many of you who are watching already know that Marvel Rivals is 6v6 open queue. With that being said, what you guys might not know is that once you reach Diamond and above, as well as in tournament play, bans are introduced. And gentlemen, believe me when I tell you, this is the evolution of hero shooters. Now I understand what I'm about to say might come across as heresy, but please have an open mind and hear me out. Open queue with bans is the future, and I believe that other hero shooters can take notes. The 2016 Overwatch 1 team was right all along, and this is why. Role queue is thought to be the superior system because it is intended to boost the competitive state.
Hang on a second. Okay. Let's make sure we define things properly. Right now in Overwatch 2, and since 2019, we have not had role queue, we have had role lock. And they are different. Now, I am at the point where I am willing to hear out an argument that role lock was a failure. Okay? And I would play Overwatch 1 open queue right now over this shit. Actually, I'll say it. Yeah, I would. I would take open queue Overwatch 1 over role lock 5v5 right now. It's like I could make a play on every character in the game in open queue Overwatch 1. I can't make a play on a super tank right now. My heroes had their identities back then, and that's why I play hero shooters. Now, you could say that this got mismanaged quite a bit, but that was what I liked about Marvel Rivals a lot, is like I had more playmaking. I just did. Now, it has its own flaws, but let's hear what he has to say. And, oh, by the way, Blizzard never did hero bans either. They did hero pools.
Of each match, as it ensures that every game that you play, you are always guaranteed to have a balanced team composition. One of the reasons that Overwatch in particular stepped in this direction, although primarily I think it's because the devs didn't know what they're doing at the time and changed the format instead of balancing the game, if that sounds familiar, was to avoid situations of getting on the same team with too many players who made the same role. For my OG Overwatch audience, we all know that degenerate POS OTP who would lock Junkrat as your 4th DPS into pharmacy. Now, I completely understand that shit's cringe, and those situations are incredibly frustrating and were remedied a little bit by the introduction of avoid slots, but let me explain the downsides of role queue first, and then I will get into why bans solve the primary reason for role queue to exist in the first place. I've come up with 6 primary issues with role queue, each of which are the exact opposite to open queue. Longer queue times, limited comp diversity, limited strategical depth, exaggerated balance.
What the fuck? What do you like? What the fuck is this editing? What? Whatever, bro. I'm never gonna fucking. I don't get what the fuck is he doing, bro? Jesus Christ.
Balance of power between the roles, a worthless leaderboard, and lower match quality at higher tiers of play. Assuming we're talking 6v6, the matchmaker is tasked with finding 4 players in each role at similar ranks in MMR. Regardless of how you feel about any format, it is an objective fact that the more criteria a matchmaker has to use to make a lobby, the longer the queue times are going to take. Yeah. In contrast, in open queue, the game does not have to worry about the same filter and merely needs to find 12 players of similar skill and put them in the same lobby. Moving on to comp diversity. In open queue, you have the opportunity to play a much wider and diverse array of team compositions. No longer is it the standard 2-2-2 every single game. Now you have strategies such as triple DPS and even quad tank that become viable ways to play the game. This gives more heroes the opportunity to be picked in a variety of situations, especially when they're coupled with bans, which we will get into later. Marvel Rivals showed me that role queue was just another case of smoke and mirrors to disguise from the fact that open queue is the superior format and role queue was only instituted to mitigate terrible balance. Another issue is the limited strategical depth that comes with role queue. Back in the glory days of Overwatch 1, it was not uncommon to see team comps provide of triple tank and triple DPS alongside the standard 2-2-2 before the release of Brig. Now, before you dumbass kids cry about something like GOATs, let me remind you that Overwatch 1's balance team was the worst balance team of all time, and even after 22 nerfs to Brig, they couldn't fix the game because they had no idea what they were doing. The game was great before introduction, and once again, Overwatch was ruined by terrible balance that baited everyone into garbage format changes that still plague the game today. Yeah. Imagine for a second a universe in which bans existed.
I was a role queue advocate. I was. I genuinely liked role queue. I did. I'm prepared to admit I was wrong. Open queue is terrible. It's better than 5v5 role lock. It is. Come on. It is. I genuinely believe that open queue is better than 5v5 role lock. 100%. It's not as consistent, but it's better. Hero identities are better. You have more times where you can play what you want and express yourself, and there's not fucking super tanks in the game. That's what I'll say. Now, here's a hypothetical I'm willing to hear out. Would Blizzard have gone to 2-2-2 if GOATS wasn't as bad as it was for as long and they had nerfed Brig properly? I don't know. But it's disingenuous to also say that there was not big demand for it. And the demand was there from the player base. It was. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, the Overwatch team fucked up so bad by going to role queue. How dare they do that? No, it was in huge demand from a lot of people. Could open queue with bans have solved a lot? Yes, it definitely could have. In hindsight, looking back now with the results in front of us, I think there's a lot of merit to this, which is why I'm excited to see what Marvel Rivals might do.
In a game like Overwatch 1. No longer would the incompetence of the inept balance team create stagnant metas that plague the game for months, if not years on end. Teams would be forced to strategize their draft based on the teams they're playing against and not the characters that have the best numbers at that point in time in the meta. For those who don't know, in Marvel Rivals competitive play, there's a draft system that goes along with the bans, where each team is rewarded 2 bans and 1 protection. The way it works is Team 1 gets the first ban, Team 2 gets the second ban, Team 2 gets the first protect, Team 1 gets the second protect and the second ban, and then Team 2 gets the final ban. Here's a visual example from some of my team's matches in the most recent tournament.
Mike, and we gotta fight it out. That's how it goes.
Yep, and we're gonna immediately go into the match between Team Blue and Euphoria. Like you said, Jake, potentially we will, not see both these teams in the grand finals, but it could happen, right? I mean, obviously, Team Blue here with an E was is the former champ from the last season, right? The last championship series and the last final the last War of the Realms, rather. And for Team Euphoria, they're immediately banning that Hella, Jake. I think it's the first time we've seen it versus Team Blue so far.
Yeah, you know, and I think there's good reason for that. Delena on the Hella has just been a huge performer and just a breakout star. Like, I would say the reason they won the last tournament was his performances on the Hella. So by banning this character, I think you immediately force them off their comfort zone. And I mean, so far when we watched this team, they didn't have the Hella ban. They just played it every game and they dominated with it. We'll see now. Forced to adapt, forced to make a change. As the Adam Warlock protect comes through, and the Punisher ban as well. You know, targeting SJP, who looked great on the Punisher. So immediately, Team Euphoria showing their intentions to play a super high-paced comp, not relying on these backliners. Hulk gets banned, but interesting. I mean, with the Adam Warlock, I feel that, you know, I mean, Spark Chief was great on the Hulk, but at the same time, it was really like these the Adam Warlock team ups. I think that were a huge part of their success, right? With the Star Lord, Adam Warlock, and Mantis getting those reses off, just so powerful.
Yeah,
I think the tank battle is going to be critical as well. With Vinny and TTK on the side of Team Blue, Euphoria, Spark Chief, and Clone Man. I think these are some of the strongest tank players we've had in the tournament. You know, making a lot of individual plays, you know, getting a lot of kills for their respective teams. And so to see them clash in the server is going to be interesting.
Could you guys imagine, just for a second, after seeing this type of system implemented in Overwatch 1 in its prime time?
And this is where, like, it frustrates me where people give Frito a lot of shit. That's what Frito was asking for the entire time. Frito was completely right. Completely right about hero bans. Completely fucking right. And by the way, I'm just going to say it for what it is here, okay? I'm excited for these new hero shooters to come out and actually do the things that a lot of people requested that were solutions to these problems correctly, because it might just show, like, hey, old Team 4 was that bad. And that's what I think the case to be when it comes to the core gameplay. I am going to give them, again, I want to be really clear. I do want to give them a lot of leeway on the role queue discussion and the role lock discussion, because that is something that the community at the time was pushing very heavily for. So to be clear, it's not just like, oh, they're fucking stupid. No, like a lot of people were pushing for it. It was in high demand.
That game would have been the biggest esport the world would have ever seen.
Yeah.
But when Blizzard tries to do something in classic fashion, they don't trust their player base, they ego criticism, and they think they know what's best. Some of you might be thinking now that in the past, Blizzard did try to implement a hero ban system. But again, they left it out of the players' hands, and they literally, and I kid you not, guys, this is the most ridiculous fucking thing I think I've ever seen. They let a fucking cat, decide what the competitive landscape was going to be for each week. Like, they think so little of their player base. They let Zoe's fucking cat decide the competitive landscape of the hero bans each week. Watch this.
I'm gonna show it, right? We're gonna...
Guys, unironically, nothing against these people. That's what they fucking did. They had a cat. I was playing in Contenders. A cat chose the bans for the week. A cat.
Have one Reinhardt ticket.
I love cats.
You're gonna have
but...
one Zarya ticket. You're not up yet. Go away.
It's your time to shine.
it's already.
I love cats.
Working. We have one wrecking
I hope
ball.
Zoe's cat's doing well, but
A diva.
that cat should not be picking fucking
Another
bans.
diva. And two Orissas. Right? So this is what's gonna be shuffled. We're gonna shuffle this. I don't know what's going to be picked. You guys don't know. Nori definitely doesn't know, although I did hear that he is an Orisa
So keep in
main.
mind, Winston actually has about 10% pick rate, but cannot be picked again. You cannot have 2 consecutive weeks getting removed, because that would be very rude. And we're not about rudeness, we're all about PMA. So these 6 heroes are going to be the ones available for removal. And given that it's weighted, it's most likely to be Orisa or Diva. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what Nori thinks, because ultimately Nori decides. It is in the fates of a cat.
Yeah.
Like it or not.
Guys, I'm pretty sure, by the way, I'm pretty sure this was not just for the pro lobby. Like, they tried it on live. I don't think the cat picked it every week. But like, I'm pretty sure these heroes were banned. And what was so bad about it is Echo got banned the week of her release. They released Echo and she got fucking banned for the whole week. Do y'all remember that? I was so mad. Echo got banned the week of her release, bro. Oh, man.
Right way to
This
do
is
hero
the fairest play we've ever had.
Nori, this is it.
It's game
Touch
time.
one.
Let's go, Nori. I believe in you.
Make sure you spread them out.
I can't watch it.
Yeah, okay,
Alright,
wait.
sorry.
Okay.
It's taken.
I can't. It's
Only on Paramount Plus. Stream all 3 Quiet Place movies.
Are you serious? This is torture. You're torturing.
Incredible. I don't know how it's possible to be so out of touch with your player base that this is the method that's selected for determining how the competitive landscape for your esport is going to be. For those who don't know, the last time they tried this system was during prime double shield Orisa Sigma meta back in 2020, and I don't think I need to explain how fucking stupid and irrelevant it is that Zarya is banned. Like anybody cares or like this changes the game at all. Instead of giving your players agency in the impact to balance the game for you because you're so incompetent that you don't know what actually causes the problems in this game that still infect Overwatch 2 today, they take away the player's agency and ban worthless heroes determined by a goddamn cat. Let's not forget about the millions upon millions of dollars that went into this league. The hundreds, if not thousands of people involved with running it.
And bro, imagine being an investor looking from the outside in. Like imagine Robert Kraft. Okay, imagine being like fucking Robert Kraft. Like you've got Super Bowl rings in the fucking in Boston, in Foxborough. You've got all this shit, right? And then you tune into your investment for fucking Overwatch League, and there's a literal cat deciding like what characters you have to play. Like I get like and again, I'm not trying to flame anybody here, but like that just never should have been allowed to happen. That never should have been able to happen. That's crazy. I'd kind of forgotten about that. But yeah, to be a fly on the wall to see that happen and just see the confusion would be really funny.
And people, myself included, who committed their lives to this game and its esport, and you guys are banning heroes based off of random chance. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You have people traveling across the world to compete in these games, and you are leaving bans to random chance. Like, what the fuck is going on?
How? How did they think that was okay to even put it in the game? I'm so sick of this fucking company. They're trash! Fix the game! It sucks! Playing the shit!
So real for that.
Anyways, fellas, it's important that nobody throws any hate towards anybody on the production team. I said this in one of my previous videos as well, but the people who are responsible for putting this stuff together and presenting it to us, they are just doing their jobs. They're not in charge of making any of these decisions.
100%.
So don't hate on Zoe or Reinforce or Custa
100%.
or Mr. X or Uber, anybody. 100%. They're all really, really nice and they're really, really good at their jobs.
They're just doing their production stuff. I've always said this. I always thought they were great. Seriously. I always thought like that their production team has always been great. They've always been good. Even with Custa saying that shit about me, like I still don't like want people to go after them. Like that's not like people can have opinions. It's not a big deal. I see how some of you shitters act in the comment sections. Y'all gotta tune it back a little bit because that just reflects on me. Well, unfortunately, like it's not really me. It's kind of people. People are gonna do what they want on the internet, whether people like it or not. That's my opinion. I don't speak for everybody else. I speak for myself. That's it. Now they could have spoken up on the cat shit. Yeah, but there was so much shit going on at the time. Like. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not their fault on that. Like, it's not the end of the world either. Like, I'm not trying to say, be like, how dare they do this like years ago. Like, I don't care that much. But yeah, I actually don't know the context of that Tyler 1 clip. I don't.
So please, once again, do not throw any hate their way. This is from the top down, okay? I also think it's really important to point out that these decisions were made during the Bobby Kotick era. This is really important because we need to be able to judge the current developers of Overwatch 2 based on their decisions and their mistakes and their successes and not on the previous team that was in charge of the past.
I'm not sure how much say Bobby Kotick would have in that on a day-to-day basis, but sure.
Wanted to use this as an example to demonstrate that if Blizzard does not correct their previous philosophy, they will lose their player base to better games and coming in the future. Last but not least, I want to explain the exaggerated balance of power within Rollock. Before I go off on this section, I highly recommend that you go back and watch my previous video about 5v5 versus 6v6 as it provides additional context that will make this portion of the video make more sense. Now, obviously, in a role queue format, the game categorizes each player into predetermined roles that they select before the start of each match. The problem is that the game and its characters now have to be balanced around the roles and not around the characters within the metagame itself. In other words, the parameters that the developers can use to design and balance each character becomes more restricted as each hero has to fit their respective role's identity and not their own hero's identity within the game compared to other characters. Let's use some examples. Penny Parker, who is classified as a tank, is a trap-based counter-diver that specializes in shutting down assassins and dive tanks. For those of you who don't know her kit, she has mines, a mine field, and a mini stun that's on a 4-second cooldown. This type of design is very unique and uncommon in a hero shooter, and for good reason. In a role queue format, to put it as simply as possible, a tank's identity is to absorb damage. How they go about doing this will vary depending on the hero, whether it's shields, matrices, flat-out damage reduction, life steal, etc. It doesn't matter. But if a tank doesn't have any damage mitigation in their kit, they will be at a severe disadvantage when compared to the other tanks in the roster together, as players are limited to how many tanks they can have on their team at a given time. That then leaves them in a unique situation where they have to be incredibly overtuned at their niche or completely worthless. Can anyone think of a tank that would fit this type of description in Overwatch? Perhaps one that came out prior to 5v5 role lock. Perhaps one that was originally designed for 6v6 open queue. Perhaps one that was originally flexed in the place of a DPS or support. Perhaps one that didn't need 800 health, 50 billion DR, and a one-shot and a new ability and all the other bullshit I mentioned in my 6v6 video. Do me a favor and imagine yourself as a hero designer and balancer. Take Roadhog and Penny Parker's kits and try to make them work in a role queue format. It's literally impossible. These characters were designed to be in an open queue format, and because of that, they have a very strong and specific niche, but when you try to force them or cram them into this tight little format, it exaggerates their balance of power. They have to be so incredibly broken at their niche or just have better numbers than every other character in the game to be viable, because again, they do not fit the traditional tank role. So they will either always be terrible or always be broken. Now imagine Penny in her current kit, what they would have to do to her to make her competitive with tanks like Magneto or Doctor Strange if role queue was introduced. Now take this idea of Penny in your head and supercharge it to fit in role lock. Then supercharge it again to fit into 5v5. And what does that give you? Fucking modern day Roadhog. In OpenQ, the developers are given more freedom about how they want to design their heroes. They no longer have to fit within a specific design of a role itself and can be designed to fit their theme and their character in the game relative to other characters. So not only does OpenQ promote better hero diversity in game design, but it also removes toxic super tanks that are currently ruining Overwatch 2. All of that coupled with a strategic ban system, and you have a recipe for an incredible hero shooter. In conclusion, OpenQ is the superior format for team-based hero shooters for all of the reasons I just listed. The only benefit to role queue is a more stable ranked environment, but that's not worth all the negatives and detriments it brings to the game in question. The concepts and ideas that I just discussed will permeate throughout time, regardless of the hero shooter in question, and there's a reason that Overwatch's two biggest upcoming competitors, Deadlock and Marvel Rivals, are both 6v6 OpenQ. Overwatch 1 paved the way for these developers, and not only do I hope that they learn from Blizzard's past and current mistakes, but that they also listen to Coach Light and his infinite wisdom.
Okay, I'll be honest. I've not made my final decision on this. Okay. I've not. Wait, was I on the other team? Wait, what? Was I really? Oh, I was on the other team in this game. I was playing Venom against them. Yeah. There's me, bro. There's me. I have not made my final decision on this. I'm waiting to see what happens with Marvel Rivals. Now, here's what I will say. I was a role lock advocate. Sorry. I was a role lock advocate at the time. I think that one of my favorite states of Overwatch 1 was in 6v6 role queue. It is very, very hard to design games, and you have more things to account for in the role lock format as a developer. The degree of difficulty is harder because you have to weigh queue times, you have to weigh a lot of different things, okay? There were absolutely things Blizzard could have done better. A ban phase would have solved the GOATS meta in open queue, as well as, again, what caused GOATS was because they buffed every support ult in the game to be better than the DPS ults, and they never nerfed Brig properly. GOATS absolutely would have gone away with a balanced team that was more aware of what was happening in the game. Does that necessarily mean that role queue or open queue are better than the other? No, but it is important to note because the GOATS meta being as prevalent as it was for a long time is what forced a lot of players, including myself, to want role lock. Because it was really clear that it was clear it wasn't going to go away because they weren't going to change Briggs' design. They weren't going to change the problematic designs. So I think Light is right. And I will say, surprisingly, I did enjoy the open queue aspect of Marvel Rivals. I did. I would be lying to you if I didn't. And if they introduce this ban phase and they don't power creep support heroes to the point where it's insanely easy to maintain these brawly GOATS-esque comps, open queue is absolutely doable. And with more competition coming out, you might not have a choice but to be in that format due to the queue times. I think it was a good video. I think I'm kind of in wait and see mode right now. I am preparing myself to admit that I was wrong about role lock. I am preparing myself to admit that. As time has gone on and I've seen what's happened with Overwatch, especially now with 5v5 role lock, it's clearly just not better. And if single tank is truly the only way to do role lock, I will go ahead and tell you right now, I don't think it's worth it. I think you sacrifice too many hero identities, you water down your game, And what makes hero shooters are playing the heroes. And if you limit your heroes' options and make it less fun for them to play and express themselves, then it's probably not worth it, especially having these high queue times that, I'll be real with you, like my queue times right now are longer than they were in open queue when I was rank 1. You know, so, and the match quality is not that much better either. So I think something that the role lock advocates are going to have to accept is they're going to have to, like, and this is where, like, listen, people say I give the devs shit all the time. I look in the mirror when I have to as well. And this is something that I've been really looking in the mirror on, especially after playing Marvel Rivals for, you know, the past year or so. Like, there's a good chance that role lockers, myself included, are going to have to admit that you're wrong, because when the results are in front of you and they are what they are, you got to admit fault. And I'm prepared to admit that I was wrong. I was one of the biggest advocates for role lock at the time. But yeah, there's a lot of merit to this. And I will say to anybody saying that you don't get tanks in open queue, every game of open queue right now, granted it's because the balance is bad, in Overwatch 2 is multi-tank comps. Every game. Every game. So there is a way to push your players to picking certain things. Maybe locking people out and not giving players the agency that they want with things like hero bans isn't the right way to go about it. So we'll see. Aaron expressed that they were interested in doing something like that. I'd like to see what they do, but it's going to be a very interesting couple of months here, guys. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I think this was a good video. Yeah.